What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Wolverine Swag Show. Week 2 Oklahoma game has officially concluded. We all know the result. And I'm going to be doing how it's going to work on the show is I'll be doing kind of an initial reaction right after the game. Today, obviously, it's a day later because last night it was late. I didn't really, think of the idea till now, but I'll do an instant reaction after the game, and then later in the week I'll kind of do a more in-depth one, and then with a preview for the, that week's game. But for now, we're just going to talk about last night, what kind of went down in Norman, my thoughts, my thoughts going forward, and what I really just thought about the game. So first of all, I want to say this, and I said it on my Instagram, and I said it on... I said it last year, I said it on my Instagram last night, and I want to say this. I am proud of the way that this team does not quit. This really started in the second half of last year, where we've seen questionable coaching throughout the game, and the players stay strong. They keep battling, they keep playing, they stay together, they keep their heads up. And I am proud of the players for doing that, because that's what they did last night. And that's, again, really been since the second half of last year. But, for such a young guy like Bryce to stay with it, I give him props. And it's not just him, I give the whole team props for really staying with it and keep battling even when it, looked at its lowest. So, when I get that out of the way. On to the performance of the team. Now, listen. I said this on the Instagram as well. I thought the defense did enough to win yesterday's game. Now listen, were they great? No. Were they perfect? No. Did they make mistakes? Absolutely. Were they getting toasted in the first half? Yes. However, the defense made enough stops to win this game. Because listen, Michigan fans aren't exactly used to this besides the Texas game last year, in recent memory, about playing big games early on in the season, Really, during the Harbaugh era, aside from, Notre Dame in 2018, Utah 2015, we have not played very many good non-conference teams. It's, usually been the 3 preseason games before Big Ten play. When you're playing good teams, you're not going to play perfect. Like, I think so many people, I've seen it on X and Instagram and whatever, they expect, if it's not perfect, if they don't completely shut the team down, it's a failure. And I think people have to realize that when you're playing a team like Oklahoma, who John Mateer, absolute gamer. He's going to give so many SEC teams trouble this year. He's a baller gamer. All props to that kid. A very unique offense and an absolute gamer at quarterback. You're going to struggle. It's going to happen. You're going to give up big plays in the air. You're going to give up plays on the ground. The bottom line, and there's no argument, is that Michigan made enough stops to give the offense opportunities. Period. I don't care how many big throws to the air they had, offside, stuff, whatever. They made enough stops to give the offense opportunities last night. That's the bottom line. And again, although they did not play perfect, they gave the offense opportunity, and the offense can capitalize. And moving on to that was one of the worst offensive play calling games I've ever watched. That seemed like a Davis Warren game plan. I thought we were playing Texas with Davis Warren last year, with Kirk Camp. Like, if Michigan wants to win games, they're gonna have to let Bryce throw the ball, and I get it. And I listen to podcasts, and I was thinking this myself, and people are saying, we're not in the building. We don't know what goes on. We don't. And that's right, 100% true. We are not in the building during, Monday to Friday. We only watch Saturday. We don't know what's going on. We truly don't. Bryce could be playing awful in practice. He could be showing he's not ready. He could be showing freshman mistakes. We don't know. However, you will not win a single football game against a good team if you're just running the ball up the middle when there's 7 guys in the box. You'll never win anything. You'll never. I don't care who it's against, to be honest. Chip Lindsey continued to run the same stuff even when Oklahoma was daring you to throw the ball downfield. There was one play during the first half. I think it was 3rd and 6 during the first half, early in the second quarter, where there were 7 guys in the box pre-snap, and Michigan ran a zone scheme run. Worst play call I've ever seen in my life. 3rd and 6. It's not 3rd and 20. 3rd and 6. 3rd and 6. And they ran a zone scheme run into 7 guys. Worst call I've ever seen. And that was the summary of the entire night. They continued to run, shallow screens when Oklahoma knew it was coming. They continued to run the ball right up the middle when there were 7 guys in the box and they were bringing around blitzes. It was awful. It was awful. Worst play calling I've ever seen. And we went through a whole year as Kirk Campbell as our offensive coordinator. That's saying something. I get it, Bryce is a freshman. I get it, he might not be ready. But when they're doing that, you got to counter, man. You got to counter. And if Bryce can't do it yet, he shouldn't be starting. If it's not Bryce, put Mikey Keenan, guy that's experienced, the guy that we've seen. But if you want Bryce, you've got to throw the ball downfield. You've got to trust him. You've got to trust him to make plays. And there were a few times last night where he threw. Listen, there were times where he overthrew a guy, missed a guy. But a lot of those were crappy pockets, didn't have time. I think for the most part, when Bryce had a clean pocket last night and there was a guy open downfield, he did not miss him. I can't think, there was that Zach Marshall wheel route where it would have been a walking touchdown. A guy was right in his face, had no time. There was that miscommunication with Andrew Marsh. I can't think of a time where Bryce had a clean pocket, threw the ball downfield and missed him. I can't. When he had a clean pocket, he had time, he saw a guy, he threw it, it was a completion. And I didn't understand it, to be honest. I was infuriated. It was infuriating to watch. It felt like last year all over again. And I don't know if it's a trust issue. I don't know, again, if it's something in practice. But there's 2 options. It's either you let him throw or you bring someone else in to do it. Because we saw last year, if they're just in the box, you can't run the ball. You can't smash. I don't care how physical you are. You can't do it. So, that's up to, Lindsey and Sherrone to decide. I'm sure that's something that, we'll get. I'm not saying they're going to think about making a change at quarterback. I'm not saying that. But they're going to have to really look at this personnel and figure out if it is something with Bryce, have to figure out how to counter it. And if it's not, just let him throw the ball. But that was my take on the offense. I didn't think, listen, the O-line got hate. Did they play great? No. Did they play as bad as people say? I don't think so. I think more times than not they had blitzes everywhere, 7 guys in the box. That's tough to block. And I think a good majority of the time of the 4-man front, they were putting up decent gaps. Now listen, did they play great? No. Did they play Joe Moore award winning? Absolutely not. But do I think the O-line was as god-awful as people are saying? No. I think it more goes back to the offensive play calling by Chip and Sherrone. I think I don't care what O-line you are, if there's 7 guys in the box and you're running the ball straight up the middle, you're not gonna do very well. So I think there's room to improve there. I think there's room to improve everywhere, but I don't think the offensive line played as god-awful as people made it out to be. Now listen. Before I get into this next segment, there's one thing I want to say. I feel way better football-wise, after this game than I did after the Texas game last year. I'm not nearly as worried. Last year our defense got words I can't use on the internet against Texas. They got flat out embarrassed. Like, it wasn't even not close to this level. And I think if you're comparing this team to last year's, you're just wrong, flat out. It's not even the same level. I think the defense made stops. The defense, to be honest, before third down, they played quite well. That's an issue getting off the field on third down, but I think overall the defense played way better than the defense played against Texas last year. Not even close. And I think offensively, obviously, we don't even have to go to that. This group's way more talented than the offense a year ago. They got the playmakers. I think it's just the little stuff. Last year was big stuff. Like, last year, after the Texas game, we all knew, like, this isn't little stuff. Like, this is big, glaring issues with this team. I don't think there's a big glaring, like, whoa, watch out. Maybe besides the offensive line at points, but besides that, at points, I don't think there's a huge glaring issue on this football team. I don't. I think football-wise, I feel better. I think they will get better. This is the toughest game they will play until November 27th, till Ohio State. The toughest game they will play. I think Michigan could easily, if they figure some stuff out, still go into that game 10-1, 9-2 into the Ohio State game. Besides the USC game, the schedule is quite easy moving forward. And again, I think it's a lot of little stuff Michigan needs to clean up football-wise. I don't think there's any glaring issues like there were last year. But again, that is not what I'm trying to talk about right now. And during one of, my top 10, I don't even remember what I called it, top 10 things to talk about before the season. One of which was, I was concerned that this team was, for as good of an ending as they had last year, they were going to struggle with being disciplined. They were going to struggle with being well coached like they were for points of last year. And I'm still very concerned that Sherrone Moore is not qualified in that aspect to be this head coach, to be a head coach here. I think schematically he is. I don't think, listen, you all remember how adamant Harbaugh was about hiring. He was like, I'm not leaving unless that guy's hired. I think schematically, football-wise, that's why I've said that word 100 times during this episode. He knows what he's doing. However, I think non-football-wise, when it comes to being a head coach, a man in the mirror, a leader of men, I don't know if he's qualified. This team continues to play somewhat sloppy. Jumping off sides on a hard count, that's middle school stuff, dude. That's middle school stuff. It happened literally twice yesterday. It was flagged for. It could have been flagged a third time. That's middle school stuff. Watch the ball, dude. Like, come on, man. Come on. Blown coverages. The tackling. Like, it's stuff like that where I question Sherrone. It's not his football knowledge. It's not. We saw, Michigan had a great offense when he was the offensive coordinator. Harbaugh was very adamant about hiring him. It's not his football knowledge. It's not. However, there's some stuff where I still question, and I need to see it better. I'm not saying I want to get rid of Sherrone. I'm not. The players love him. Harbaugh loved him. He's done things that make me believe he can get there, but I think right now I still need to see this team be better. Discipline-wise, better, just kind of in that aspect. Another thing that I think is kind of off the radar because, this loss kind of takes it all up is Sherrone will not be coaching the next two games against Central and Nebraska. And I think it could be a good thing because I think this team needs something to bring them together. This team, we all saw it. I'll go back to the 23 season. Michigan versus everybody. They need something to bring this team needs something to get excited about, to be brought together, and I think maybe this is it. Without your head coach, facing some adversity. Everyone in the country says you suck, quarterback's overrated, blah blah blah. I think this could be a good thing for Michigan, but I also think it could be not so great. So we'll see. But that's my biggest concern is with this program right now, my biggest concern is not anything football-wise. It's not. Again, I think there's not, besides, again, I know I already said all this, but besides the offensive line at points, I don't think there's a glaring issue on this football team. I don't. You could say the play calling, but I mean like fundamental. Like, I don't think there's a glaring issue on this football team. My biggest concern is if Sharonas can lead these guys, if you can get them well coached, if they can be disciplined and stuff like that, because we have seen a lot of the contrary, and I just don't know. I don't know if he can do it yet. So that's my biggest issue. That's my biggest fear right now. But overall, this loss stings, but it gets easier from here. Michigan does not play a very tough schedule. Again, I think Michigan could very well be 10-1, 9-2 going to Ohio State, and in this day and age, that's easily enough to get in the playoffs. So, I'm not as concerned. Again, like I was this time last year, I think Michigan has what it takes. I think it's a lot of little things that need to be cleaned up, football-wise. But again, hopefully we can get it back. Big win at Central, moving into Big Ten place. So I will have another episode later this week breaking down the Central game more in depth, stuff like that, talking about individual things more in depth about this game. But that's it for now. This will kind of be the routine instant reaction, just talking about overall, things that are on the top of my head. And thank you guys for watching. Make sure to follow the Instagram. We'll be posting stuff on there weekly. And go Blue Guys. See ya.